All right, everyone. I want to thank you so much for tuning in for more D&D right here on Lionhead Gaming. And it's Thursday night, which means it's time for some more Song of Rapture. I know I am eager to get into it, as I'm sure you are to watch. So, without further ado, Monsieur Ermin, I pass it over to you.
Valiant Vanguard, they had found themselves at the end of a somewhat troublesome conflict between two forces in their sort of lost travel within this alien world they journey through. But what exactly transpired and why they're here and where they're going is not really my story to tell, so could someone regale us on what happened in the last episode of the Song of Rapture?
Previously on Song of Rapture, two factions arrived to the ruins where the Valiant Vanguard were resting, and they were ready to fight, claiming to them that the throne belonged to their respective deities. Quicklings and Spriggans versus Giants and Cyclops. The Valiant Vanguard tried to stay concealed, but that did not last very long. Neither side knew where our heroes stood, so both sides attacked us and each other, and it was basically a free for all. Persephone tried to join sides with the small fae, but already thick in battle, her offer fell on deaf ears. Instead, she used her magic to overgrow plant life so she could keep the giant fae at a distance. But those same fae would throw rocks from afar, and most of them at Samantha. Luna possessed one of the Spriggans and caused emotional damage by declaring said Spriggan never liked a Quickling pal of theirs. Friendships torn apart, feelings betrayed, the small fae began to retreat. And Quill went after two of the fae giants that were still stuck in the overgrown brush thanks to Persephone's magic, cutting them down almost effortlessly. And as for the final one, Persephone charmed him into no longer throwing boulders at her friends, but, in exchange, he may have saw her as, as a goddess. But regardless, the fight was over. And Persephone wanted to know one thing. What was all the commotion about? What was this that made the ruin special to each side? So she asked her new friend, Unan. And meanwhile, Tamarkan chased after one of the runaway Spriggans and brought him back to the group to answer the question as well. And they learned that each side worshipped one half of the same story of the Unseelie Court. The giants looked up to the dark-eyed Fae, a creature said to have stolen the heart and tricked the Storm Matron. The small Fae, on the other hand, loathed the dark-eyed Fae for betraying their beloved Storm Matron. Perse mediated between the two, showing them the value in both their perspectives and how each one had their merit. And her father was very impressed with his daughter's diplomacy skills. Both Fae, both sides, thankful with this new perspective, gave Persephone and her friends some gifts, some tokens of their appreciation that were lined with a little bit of magic. But Samantha, who was busy enjoying her place on the throne everyone was fighting over, didn't hear the small druid promise the Spriggan safe travels. And the Spriggan, not knowing Samantha, made the mistake of talking trash under his breath. And to the Yonti, it was a threat, and she quickly eliminated him. Before the next morning, Calaby had confessed to Tamarkan that she didn't know where they were going this entire time. They were lost in the Nar Woods, in the Unseelie Court, and she didn't want anyone else to know. Thankfully, the Fae native enjoyed the chaos brought about by their lack of direction and kept the secret to himself. And also, thankfully, the next morning, our Valiant Vanguard was able to find a stream of light to guide them out of the dark Narwood forest. We rejoin our heroes standing on the border between Seelie and Unseelie kingdoms, moments away from meeting Queen Titania, the soon-to-be bride to Persephone's brother. How will this encounter turn out for our Valiant Vanguard? Find out tonight on Song of Rapture.
Very well done. Give yourself some DM inspiration, Persephone.
Yay!
Alrighty, as indeed, finally free from the heavy, overhanging, I guess really twisted and gnarled wood of this Seelie court, our Valiant Vanguard find themselves actually breaking away into what seems to be a long stretch of beautiful wilderness, unhindered by this great overhang of twisted plant life. Instead, the sky is bright blue and open for all possibilities, all chance, all hope, as overhead hangs this glorious, large, beaming sun that seems to shine light all over, leaving really no true room for shadows, save for those underneath what seems to be a massive, glorious tree. As you guys would rise upside a cliffside in your path, making your way out of the forest towards this open, I guess, really canopy, or I guess open glade, rather, in the forest, leading ahead to be a great, wondrous field, and before you, in what seems to be the heart of this split valley, is a tree, a culmination of large, twisted plant life formed into a single entity that stands higher than the mountains around you. So high that the trees themselves, or the clouds themselves, rather, seem to swirl and twirl around its leaves. Soft flickerings of light seem to spark from within the overhanging canopy, giving way of life within. Something far different, one might even say the opposite of where you just were, as she said before. Young Calliope opening up the way, almost to, it seems to see some of you, a moment of shock and surprise. This glorious kingdom of Argaia, the Solstice Land. As you'd see, the air around you just feels crisp, clean. Wind blows through your hair and across your clothing, not tainted or dampened by this sorrowful forest. Instead, it's light and graceful. You can hear it almost sort of whistle between some of the surrounding plant life and trees. The air itself just seems to be warm with life here. And even Calliope's demeanor changes. You see her, now that she's sort of stepping literally out of the shadows into the sunlight, her skin just sort of blossoms and glows this bright green, shining in the light. What now seem to be soft rivulets of scales across her body beaming. Oh, oh, it feels so good to be home. Oh, feels like it's been years or months or weeks or days. Oh, it feels so long. Come, we have much more journeying to do. It's quite a ways to get there, but it lays before us. Oh, we made it. Oh, we made it.
It's breathtaking.
It's far too bright here.
Is that where the seat of your power is, Calliope, at the large tree?
Oh, it's Argaia. It is the kingdom itself. It is where the queen lies, and, well, truly most of the Silly Court. Sometimes they like to fly around and explore some of the land. Sometimes they have duties to do, people, with jobs or things. But it is where the Silly Court resides, in the highest place where all the sunlight can reach through, in a great crystal palace hidden within the branches.
Crystal?
Crystal? It grows inside the tree, no less.
And we're safe here in the Sealy Court.
Of course, it's the safest place you could possibly be in the Feywild. Everyone's here so very nice. Nobody wants to cause harm. Nobody wants to fight. Sometimes Alcern does, but he doesn't stick around here because nobody wants to fight back with him.
I'm surprised he hasn't burned down this tree.
Oh, he's tried. It doesn't work. He's a little too big for him. Plus, the Queen is very scorned with him when he tries. It's why he likes to gallivant away to other places, which makes everybody happier, really.
How do they feel when you leave?
I don't know. Sometimes I leave just because I want to go find a new place. Sometimes I see one place stay the same too long and I want to find a new site or find new creatures and friends. It doesn't always work out, but so far, going to your little world has been very fun. I've met lots of new people like you, and I think it's a good experience. I've learned a lot simply by watching you.
Just because home is wonderful doesn't mean you can't desire to see something new. New things are exciting.
They're very exciting, yes.
How does my father look?
Kalon has a very distinct look of, I guess, relief on his face once he's out of what seems to be the shade, the wet, the muck. Although you do see him at this point, once you've completed your hike through this forest, sort of standing in the light, kicking off some dirt from his boots. Look, you see he still instinctively tries to wave his hand over his robes and looks in for a moment of surprise when they don't seem to magically clean themselves. But now that he's actually in the sunlight itself, you can see there's a deep sigh that falls and rises from his chest, and he just looks up at this vast tree with a look of awe on his face.
As I see him trying to do that, I just clean his robes.
Oh. Thank you, Kudo. This
Must
is...
look presentable for your future daughter-in-law.
Seems I must. This is quite a sight to behold. This tree, how does it stand so tall, so strong? Why does it not simply collapse underneath its own weight?
Really?
Said there was
You
a-
find yourself asking that question?
Obviously, they hang it from the sky. How do you hang your trees?
It's obviously magic.
Suppose it's different to see it than to imagine it. Strange. As he's just sort of looking up to the sky, to the immense height of this thing. Much, much magic here indeed.
Because how tall does this tree actually seem to be?
Thousands and thousands of feet tall. It is taller than the mountains. You know how tall mountains are? This tree's bigger than those. It is up in the clouds.
So it's taller than the vast rise?
Seems to be.
Ooh.
So we're talking
Or at least comparable.
at least 30,000 feet. We're talking Mount Everest.
Like
Just a couple
high enough,
thousand feet.
like high enough to where you'd look up and go, damn, that's a big ass tree. I'd say probably like again, like the vast rise is so high that it literally reaches up into the clouds themselves. If you reach the top, even though the picture's probably not as descriptive,
I mean,
you
there's
still can't
clouds
see.
around this
You,
tree, I'm just
you still
saying.
can't see the actual top of the tree from where you're at. There are clouds somewhat obfuscating it. Although again, there's so much sunlight here that there seems to be clouds are already thinned. It seems to scatter away any real form of foliage, or I guess the foliage cover. But yeah, it is
60, 65 feet, looks like.
about so, yes. But yeah,
Okay.
it does seem to be like ridiculously tall. Like I would compare it to the Vast Rise, if nothing else.
Oh, magic, before I forget. Persephone digs into her bag and pulls out the rolled up pieces of parchment. I took this from you when we had to wake everybody up. These are your notes.
You took this from me. Oh, yes, thank you. Oh, I'd almost forgotten about them. Thank you.
Oh, then I'll take them back.
Though they're safekeeping now, I was distracted by the danger. But I would very much like to keep them in my hands, considering the circumstances of them possibly trading at the hands. As he sort of like glances over to the rest of the party, if you would not mind.
If you recall, I gave them back to you so that you could see that we were not speaking mistruths on your notes being altered.
Did you get everything that you needed from them, Samantha?
Oh, plenty, and more.
Okay, then you can have them back. She smiles at her father.
And I smile at her father.
I
Very
don't.
well. Safekeeping it is. As he'll sort of fold them up and look for a place inside of his robe before sort of shoving them down somewhere, keeping it tight against his side. Very well, you said a...
Is it
Good
my
going.
understanding this is the first time you're meeting the Queen?
Yes, I've never actually met her in person. Most of our true, not even truly conversations, conversing, has been through Lord Galleon.
May I make a suggestion?
If you would be so bold, yes.
I've never known or heard any stories of a potential father-in-law greeting his potential daughter-in-law while armed. Maybe a good recommendation for you to give me back that wand.
Certainly. I suppose so. As he would leap into his robe, down actually falling out of his sleeve, a long, thin elven wand that he holds in his hand for a moment, so looks it over, and then, with a moment of hesitation, maybe 2 moments, maybe a few moments, maybe several moments, hands it back over to you, Goldor. He does not mind to take anyway.
I swear on my shield that I will make sure you return home from this place, Lord. Safely.
More than myself is what I care about. Alright. Long journey, you said, Caleb, yes. Shall we be off? My feet are getting
Yes.
wet as we stand.
Persephone's going to link her arms with Caleb. Lead the way.
Alright. This is the easy part of the journey. That is there. And she just points up to the massive tree. As...
Do we have to climb it, or is there some kind of system or magic that allows
Oh, it's fine. We'll be greeted at the roots. We always get greeted at the roots. I'll just explain the situation and it'll be fine.
probably basically like when we got back to Inland. You had the same question. How was it that we were going to have to go in, and if there was going to be any fuss? But I just had to ask the gate to politely open, and it did.
A gate is far different than a tree that is taller than most mountains.
This one is very big.
Have you? But Coldor, you've seen the tree in Thistle, so you know there are plenty of ways to get up magical trees.
Yes. I'm just done climbing for the day.
Well, I am going to just go ahead and sit back behind Luna on the flying carpet.
Okay. As a gentle travel carries you along the way, it's quite different from your previous experience in the Feywild. For some of you, your first experience in the Feywild. What began as sort of this treacherous journey, finding all sorts of hidden paths or otherwise the safest routes to try and avoid the strange, writhing, living dangers that seem to comprise this world. This new land, this Argaia, is a different beast. The forests here have been thinned just to sort of open, I guess, valleys. Walkways alongside a flowing river that's the way light seems to strike it. You'd almost think it was oil. The strange way that this crystal clear water seems to refract all sorts of colors. Within, you can see, almost looks like serpents, but really they're fish swimming along the length of it. They would kick themselves out of the water with a flip, and these long fins would catch the air and carry them into the sky, just seeming like they're flying from the river into the air itself, swimming along in their own little streams. The air just seems to be spinning and twirling almost with its own life. You might find yourself caught in a small gale, like a little, what do you call it, a little tiny twister for a moment, but it seems to just sort of dance around you before moving on. It's gentle and kind and almost friendly in its own sense. If there was any world one might call that of a fairy tale, you think it might reside somewhere within this land. And the journey only really takes you about an hour or so. Easy walking, easy climbing, until eventually you reach the base of this massive tree, but really it reaches you before you get there. The center mass of this great and winding plant life seems to break off into large several, I guess you call them stumps, just masses of wood with long writhing roots reaching out and tearing and wrapping around the stone and earth around it. You find yourselves gathering at least the base of one of these massive stumps, the long roots reaching out about 100, 200 so feet until they bury themselves into the ground. So large that they actually resemble the branches you guys walked upon in the canopies, enough to where maybe two in a line could possibly walk them like a path, although it's the only really reprieve you have from the disheveled earth beneath. This thing has definitely seemed to shape the land around it. And as you get closer... Oh, yes.
Do the branches seem to sort of have that sort of interconnected tension to them still?
It seems, again, they're just long roots you're walking on. They're laying across the ground. Basically, rather than up in the sky, they're all reaching down to the ground across the earth.
They fling you into the horizon.
No, not the eat root.
No catapult roots, unfortunately. But yeah, It seems like these things are, it just feels like you're just walking along a path. Some of them even sort of guiding you, it seems. The earth becomes sort of, again, like I said, disheveled, twisted and turned beneath your feet. Not a good place to walk unless you're a simian who can climb quite easily. But for the others, it seems as if you have a nice, narrow path to walk along the roots. Calliope seems to take to them quite easily. And it's about when you're maybe about 50 or so feet away from one of these great stumps, looking up, just seeing this massive, what should be shadow cast over you from this huge tree, instead of broken up by, it looks like small tuffets of light. It seems like the branches above actually allow some of the sunlight to break through. You hear the sound almost like glass sort of shivering and shaking around you. The sound of, you'd almost think it's like tiny little chimes buzzing here and there. And it grows louder and louder until all around, from the heights of this great tree, even from some of the plant life that seems to bud up around its thick stump, almost like small forests themselves, you can see soft twinkling lights beginning to sort of part and pull away into the air in these soft masses like swarms until they begin to swirl and approach you guys through the air. These tiny little creatures until they stop about 50 or so, maybe some getting even closer, hanging above you in the air. Tiny little creatures, almost humanoid in shape, but their backs are armed with these twinkling glass-like wings, translucent, but strong enough to keep themselves flying. As you find yourselves surrounded and greeted by an assortment of things. I guess you guys have seen some of them. Some of you have through Persephone's magic. These creatures look like covered and looks like straps of leather and plant life. You know them as sprites, as they all surround you in the air, soft. It looks like twinkling dust, maybe even glitter, falling around you in a soft rain as they hang above your head, sort of in silence for a moment. Calliope looks up and gives them a big wave as you hear the tiny orchestra, almost a choir of creaks, as teeny tiny little bowstrings start to get drawn.
Oh!
Halt! What are you doing in these lands, outsider? What have you done with Lady Calliope? As these teeny tiny little creatures, a tiny swarming army, fall from the branches around you and hang in the air, all pointing teeny tiny itty bitty needle sized bows at you.
My,
And in the land you shall all be saved. You have seen your new conquerors. Battle before us.
No, stop! Don't listen to him!
Conquerors!
No!
Oh dear! We were not prepared for this!
Or not. Who knows?
He's kidding, this is a joke, he's a joking funny fellow. No, hey, it's fine, see, they're friends, we're friends. Conquerors? Friends? This might be a trick. You're gonna like acquiring between the little tiny whispers. This might be a trick. What is your business here? What is your true business?
Hi. I'm Persephone, and I'm the younger sister of Rael. You might know him. He's supposed to be marrying Queen Titania.
Young lord to be marrying the queen. Yes, but we know of this. Every Sealy knows of this.
Right.
But sister, was there a sister? Is there a sister? I don't know. Is there a sister?
Do they not know about me?
I closed the wrong
You
thing.
probably
you-
haven't been mentioned, Persephone.
You surely know his father, High Lord Kalon?
Yes, we know there's an elf father for an elf child. Is that what? As you motion for Kaelon, he sort of steps forward. Yes, you're. I am Lord Kaelon from Innerlin. I am from the Prime Material. I am the father of the groom to be, soon to be your lord. We are here to request. He looks over at you, Persephone.
An audience.
An audience with the queen. True, is that true? That seems true. Might be the words of a conqueror. They're conquerors. We cannot be certain of your nature! For one moment! As you see one of these tiny little sprites flutters down in front of Calliope, sort of zipping up around like an insect around her head. It's almost like it's like inspecting her. No injuries? Oh, good. No harm? Check your pupils! Check your eyes! As he opens up, sort of forcibly opens her eyes. Why are you doing this? I'm telling you, he's fine. They're friends.
God, these fairies have a medical degree.
As you'll
Calliope
see
said
more.
they had jobs.
As you'll see all these tiny little creatures start fluttering and zipping closer and closer around you guys, just sort of doing the same thing. So having their tiny little bows drawn. Again, these tiny little like doll-sized bows. But they seem to be thoroughly inspecting around each and every one of you.
I extend my hand towards the one coming towards me, just inviting him.
My hair
gets
tracks
towards
all
me.
of them.
Someone gets towards me. May I give you some advice, little one? Would not be
Hmm.
good to give a bad impression to the man who raised your future lord. I would suggest you listen to the queen's daughter in Calliope.
That seems to be, might be tricking. You, test it first. Make sure they're not evil. As the one in front of you, Persephone, lands in your hand and you feel it reach down and put its palms on top of yours. This tiny little creature, only standing about maybe like 7 inches tall. And you feel this sort of strange ticklish sensation run through you. As a strangely familiar sensation
I do it right back.
runs both ways, it seems, as this teeny tiny creature will reach out into you to read at your heart and it seems as if you almost catch it by surprise, but it seems to do no good as it falls prey to your magic as well as it tries to take yours. You feel a moment of resistance. Do you try to resist its ability?
No, we're friends.
All right. And for a moment, two hearts become one. You sense inside this creature, first, obviously, concern and panic, and a strong feeling of protection and duty as its heart reaches out towards yours. And then, as it seems to go deeper beyond, you sense its heart, although beating fast and furiously, almost chaotically. You would know this thing beats for kindness and really truth. There is a desire to protect and really of good nature. This creature in your hand wants to help and protect the ones behind it, although it seems to be beating out of fear and concern right now. It might seem to even beat out of its chest in the next moment. Huh. This one's pure of heart, kind, speaks true of its intentions. Good. You are permitted. The rest of you, though, as all the little sprites sort of turn to their respective individuals. As for each and every one of you, including Persephone, these things are going to be trying to touch you to read your heart. Do you resist or do you allow?
Well, as he tells all of the others to inspect, I tell him, well, wait, these are all of my friends. They're only here because I asked them to be. And if you can trust me, you can trust them.
Roll me a persuasion check.
I'm using my inspiration.
Let's see. Good you. Let's see. She speaks true. Her words are that of an honest person. And if she's honest, she is the sister, lady, queen to be. She speaks for her people, her servants. Good.
Like
Hold
my
it.
friends.
Servants.
Look over at
Sir,
Samantha
I
and Luna
said
both.
they were my friends. They're not my servants.
Hi, pretty boy.
What's the difference?
Well, friends don't have to do what you say. If they do what you ask, it's because they're your friends and they like you. It's a sign of trust.
But you could be servants and friends. This is confusing talk for me. Very well. As you see someone start to pull away from your hands unless you want to touch them. Permitted access. Where are they? We're going to... One moment. I'm going to request the Maidens of the Grove Garden as this creature flies up into the sky and stops. But to be certain, make sure they stay put. As you hear a tiny chorus of aye aye from all the surrounding sprites as these things start to flutter their way up towards the center of the tree.
Persephone's just looking like she's having a delightful time giggling behind her hand, but then activates her ring.
The sprites are really friendly, but they also have my same powers. Please don't make them upset.
I don't know what you said.
Oh, sorry, because I was actually covering my mouth.
I said that these sprites can look into hearts like me. Please don't make them upset.
Sprites are joyful enough, Peter.
I turn around, I smile at Samantha and Luna.
Are you insinuating something?
Yes! Do I need to spell it out?
Please do.
Okay. Well,
I think she is
Take
saying that we only
ownership
murder
of your
half of them.
servants, Persephone.
I went through a great deal saying that you were not my servants, and I stand by that.
I just like float 5 feet off the ground looking down at you. Mm-hmm.
I use mold earth to create a hill that I then stand upon to meet your level.
The 6 snakes that I have looking at this pixie that's floating to my left shift their attention towards you, as it's just my eyes and 24 others looking at you. What, Persephone?
Hair doesn't count.
Count in regards to what?
Height! You're also floating. That's not fair. I'm already the shortest one of the group.
This is suspicious activity.
What is suspicious? What is your name?
I am Pit.
Hi, Pitt. It's a pleasure to meet you. Samantha Deus. As I extend a hand.
As he'll reach out and take your finger, and you immediately feel a little spark run through your body. A teeny tiny little reaching feeling. As do you resist, or do you...
My secrets are my own, God.
Okay, then give me a charisma saving throw. With advantage, because it's magic.
Whew.
Oh, is a 29 good enough? Gosh, I hope 29's good enough.
All right. As you feel this tiny little, basically
Brain
stem of magic
explodes.
reaching into you, trying to read at who you are.
I shouldn't have looked! I
I'm blind!
Jesus.
Trying to reach to figure out who you are. It does reach your surface level, though. It seems that it does know your current emotional state, but doesn't seem to reach any deeper to find your true nature. What does this tiny little creature sense from you?
My current emotional state. Mild tension, hunger, and slight annoyance.
Okay. Vicious, but non-problematic. As he floats away from you. So be reported.
Yeah, it'd probably almost be what he'd expect from a snake.
Certainly seems to be. As you guys want to play with these things for a second, some time would pass. The air would begin to twinkle, or I guess the jingling becomes a little softer. Oh, what's
I
up?
do go up to Caliphy and I wrap my arm around hers. Caliphy, do you want to play a prank on my father? Almost like a game.
Right now, this is a little tense, so absolutely,
not.
yes.
Okay. So maybe not exactly right now, but I need you to help me because I want to get Queen Titania in this game too. Okay. So
I start speaking to her in Sylvan.
So father thinks that Queen Titania is going to give him his magic back. But I like playing games of keep away. Those are really, really fun. You know, some people get really, really, really mad and they get so mad that their face turns red. I've never seen my father that angry before. So the game is to see how long we can go without my father getting his magic back. It's called Persephone Says. And when Persephone says he can have it back, then he shall.
That sounds like a very interesting game. Sounds like a game that Lysanne used to play with me. I didn't really like it very much.
Oh.
But maybe it's more fun if you play it on the other end of it.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. We want the Queen to play too?
Well, because the
She
queen
does
is the
like
one that
games.
has... She is the one that would have the magic to give it back to my father, so we need her to play.
That's right. We have to keep her from... She could ruin the whole thing if she
She
doesn't
can
know how
ruin the
much
whole
fun
game.
she's
Exactly,
missing.
she can ruin the whole game.
That's funny. I like it. Let's play this game. Persephone Says.
Quill just raises his eyebrow.
Yeah, that's it. Just bits of giggles.
As some time would pass, just maybe a couple minutes before, again, you hear that sort of fluttering sound, the sound of little tiny glass chimes colliding together. And you'd see this time a little golden glow sort of flying down the edge of this massive tree, along with something larger at its center. Only about, maybe you think people-sized. You'd see a small cluster of what seemed to be somewhat different looking creatures. These ones not armed to the teeth like these other teeny tiny little soldiers. No, these ones seem to be more adorned in plant life. Their hair seem to be plucked, if not made, of small petals and flowers. This tiny little collection of what looked to be pixies. At the center seems to be a larger creature, about your size, well dressed and adorned. Sort of this time, before you really get a good look, being headed by one of these sprites returning down. The maidens of the Garden Grove have arrived for your, arrival. And fortunately for you, you're also being escorted by one of our great lords themselves. May I introduce to you the Garden Grove maidens, as well as their suitor, the melancholy prince. As you see this tiny collection of pixies popping their way up into the air, sort of appearing and coming down at all of your level. These teeny tiny little ladies, all of them, seem to be, again, adorned. It looks like plant life, smiling. Golden dust seems to fall from them. As it hits the ground below them, striking some of the plant life, you see it even starts to small little flowers where it goes. And at the center are two really small creatures. One of them a teeny tiny little other pixie, though it seems like her appearance is slightly different. Her plant form seems to be more guided and sapphire in color. Looks like more like thin, fine, I guess, down running across her form that seems to shiver like a small fur coat. But she does seem to help lead this group, leading this creature behind him, or behind her rather, as this teeny tiny little pixie pops itself into reality, landing on the ground and sort of doing a small little curtsy, looking over the group. Her eyes mostly locked down on Calliope before they seem to shift to yours with an expression of surprise, as it takes you a moment until you realize you've seen her before. A teeny tiny little pixie who immediately zips on forward and just crashes into you, Persephone. Persephone! But this is. Wait a minute. But I thought. But why? You're Velora? You're Velora?
What? Yes!
But that.
I go by Persephone!
But you've always been Persephone. Wait, did you? But that means I have so many questions. It's so good to see you again.
But so do I. What are you doing here?
But I live here. But wait, you're that. But that.
Wait,
And she stops. As the moment sort of comes to an end, you hear the fluttering sort of go silent as this figure steps onto the ground quietly behind, amidst all these pixies, as an individual stands.
Please be Peleus.
Tall, long, flowing white hair reaching down to his shoulders, skin the color of cold winter night, eyes dark, save for what seemed to be the only real familiar, I guess, sight of this individual that you've not seen in quite some time. These soft, glowing eyes like that of starlight that bask and beam in your image. And upon his head, quite different from what you'd last seen, a change to his form, more fey-like than ever before, a pair of twisted antlers that seem to be brimmed in the, I guess, brine of frost, as you see the image of a person you've also not seen in quite some time. The melancholy prince. As this individual quietly seems to step down, almost with a strange amount of grace, as if he'd been floating down with these pixies, walks forward, approaching you guys, stops to scan over the entire group, and then puts a hand to his chest and lowers himself in a bow. On this bright summer day, the coldest winters could not blow away the joy I feel to see new guests brought into this kingdom, brought to these lands of the Sealy Court, brought before the kingdom of Titania. Welcome, travelers. I am Nemenes, the melancholy prince. A pleasure. Hi, Nemenes! How are you doing? As Calliope just sort of hops over and just pounces on top of this guy's shoulder, almost knocking him off his feet if it didn't seem like he was sort of flying with his own sort of magic. Hello, Calliope. It is a pleasure to see you, alive and well. Your travels with Asan have been well, I assume. He has not caused much trouble for you or the people. Oh, he's causing trouble all the time. But that's just how he is, isn't it? Unfortunately so.
Savella, I now have so many questions.
I have so many too.
Of course, Luna brings her ring up to her mouth and just kind of whispers into it. Persephone, what was your ex's name again?
Nemenes?
Both eyebrows go up.
You've earned the other eyebrow.
Yep. Achievement unlocked!
As Caleb sort of slides off of him. All right, you guys ready to go? Oh, yeah, you've already made your acquaintances. This is the melancholy prince. He's such a very, very, very downer sometimes, but he's honestly my favorite brother. He's so nice and kind.
I'm gonna hidden path over behind Swift Hollow.
Well, shall we go?
I wanted to thank you all for taking such good care of my dear sister. I know the travel here, though it seemed to be unsafe from some of your condition, may have been intrepid, but seeing her alive as well as you all warms the coldest part of my heart.
It was
Come.
a pleasure.
She was
Oh,
an
that's-
excellent guide.
It's good to hear. Come, your feet must be weary. In the land of the Seelie, we do not ask our guests to walk. As these tiny pixies just start to flutter and fly over you all, and you see again this golden light that seems to twinkle down from their bodies seems to actually softly fall upon you as it touches your skin. There's this sort of soft, almost electric feeling, like lightness, almost as if you're giddy. And as you sort of take a step or find yourself readjusting your place, if you were to move, you'd find your step becomes lighter. So much lighter, in fact, that you could step off the very ground itself, as all of you benefit from the fly spell. Rest your weary feet and follow suit. We will have you before the queen in due time.
Shall we, Lord?
As he would just sort of turn quietly and with the pixies in tow, step off the ground and just sort of fly to the sky, heading up towards what looks to be where some of these winding branches have some space in between. Some of the faster pixies and even the sprites surrounding you in this army swarm have already gone ahead, and you see them slipping inside, sort of finding their own little nooks and crannies to enter this massive nest of a tree. So you guys are sort of left, sort of followed with some of the sprites behind you as escort, but otherwise left to your own devices to follow suit. Gallifrey follows after Nimides as well.
You know, Persephone, if the portal, actually opens and all this goes through, you could just get back with them.
No, that's okay. It was great when I knew him and when we were together then, but I'm a very different person now than from then, and I don't know if me now would want to be with if he hasn't changed. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't think I was ever going to see him ever again, and I kind of moved on. So, I also thought he might have been part of the Unseelie Court, so this is especially surprising finding out that he is a creation of Queen Titania's most upset moments.
I begin to hear Persephone talk about her ex. I immediately just kind of guide Kalon farther away, farther out of earshot.
No, he's flying closer. I'm sorry. What
Yo,
is...
fucking.
You're
Do you
two
mind-
for two, it seems, Lord Kellon. Congratulations.
I feel like I'm missing something. You
Yeah, you are.
acquaintances.
Yeah, so, not too long after I went away in the middle of winter, a small little pixie decided to play a game where she took all of my stuff while I was sleeping, and I had to go on a scavenger hunt. And at the end of the scavenger hunt, right before I was about to lose, I met Nimides. And we traveled for a couple of months, and it was really nice.
I see.
And then we parted ways.
You made a friend in the woods with a Fey Lord, it seems.
You could basically call them like roommates.
Frolicking.
He just flies away.
I am thankful I never had children.
So, so I guess that's a thing now.
You'll be fine. It seems he's
I don't
only chronically depressed for
Well,
other reasons, hopefully.
hopefully, I don't. Well, that's the thing about him is that he was so emotional. When I had first known him, he would be spring and then autumn and summer and winter. I didn't see a lot of summer, thankfully. But he wasn't melancholy. He wasn't like Peleus. So the fact that he's been this way for so long, that is what people know him as, I don't know. I have to wonder what happened. It's only been a year.
Oh, he didn't seem like he remembered you.
That's another thing. I don't know if he recognizes me, remembers me. Sabella recognizes me, and she's still with Nimides. Sabella and Nimides, I met them at the same time. Like, so Bella knows. I mean, she has to if she recognized me.
Well, isn't there some sort of weird fade death thing, reincarnation? Maybe he went through that.
And got stuck
Would-
on winter.
Well, that's even more concerning. I thought his mother was Lady of Thrones, and if what my teacher says makes sense with the stories I've heard about the Storm Matron, Lady of Thrones, it was the Storm Matron, and that's kind of where everything gets really confusing.
Well, we certainly aren't going to find any answers down here.
No, we still have to talk to Queen Titania. So up we go. After you guys.
Persephone like just kind of shrinks down, just flutters down just a little lower than the rest of her gal pals.
Goodbye, Samantha.
The carpet falls up from underneath you, but you're just floating in the air anyway.
Slag out.
As
Can I get for
You guys-
buckling my seatbelt?
you guys would make your way up towards closer to the base of this tree, and again, the closer you get to the actual like main body of this thing, it gets larger and larger until you find one of these small, looks like almost like a knot hole in the side of this thing that some of these sprites and pixies seem to be funneling into, and you follow suit. You almost expect inside for the whole thing to be shrouded in darkness, or at least kept upheld by, like any other structure would. But the moment you enter, there's a sort of rush of warmth that surrounds you. You enter what seems to be some strange, like magical atmosphere, and inside you feel a strange homeliness, like not homely, but homeness inside, like a welcoming, a feeling like that sensation when you open the door after a long day and step into what is truly is your home. As you enter inside, off the ground, sort of just fluttering it in, you'd see it looks to be long, winding walls of twisting plant life, and between them, sort of nestled against these large, twisting branches, seem to be of all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Structures like buildings and otherwise huts dug into the wood itself. Some large enough for you guys to enter if you were to step and, I suppose, stand on some of them. Others so small that only the teeniest and tiniest of creatures could ever truly make one of these places their home on top of a knothole. You guys would be flying up and around inside. Well, there is a sort of a city of these winding branches all around you of different forms. Looking up at the sky, at least what looks should be a sky, the overhanging canopy actually shines almost as brightly as an open sky. Instead, hanging between the branches, nestled between them, seem to be these long, thin, not shards, but really sheets of crystalline earth of all sorts of different colors. Those that seem to catch the sunlight that breaks through the plant life and magnify it. You see rays of gold, pink, blue, green, even indigo seem to all shine in this cornucopia of colors. It is like this whole place, its own separated world, kept from the outside wilds and kept safe and warm within. As the swarm of pixies and sprites start to disperse, some of them seeming to go back to their stations, others continuing to rise higher and higher towards this looks to be growing and building crystalline structure. You see sort of dipping down around one of the little pixie or sprites, sort of gets to your side almost as an escort and points up. We're looking to be with the queen soon. The higher you go, the closer you'll get to her majesty. If you wish to dawdle around, that is on you. We will leave you behind. But not in a mean way. We'll come back to get you if you get lost. Promise. But otherwise, they start getting up higher.
Yeah, as we're flying through, and Persephone sees these little houses. Oh, it reminds me of the little pixie grotto.
Very much so. In fact, almost like an entire city of them. And as the higher and higher you guys soar, again, you start to realize or notice that some of the sort of simplicity of the structures starts to fade away. Instead, you start getting something more ornate, more, I guess, royal in its sense. The branches become a bit thinner in places, more expected that like of a normal tree you'd find in the elven forest, but so elegantly tended to, so decadently twisted and knotted and formed that it creates what looks to be like a very fragile, very gentle, beautiful lattice of wood and crystal life until you pass through this final canopy, and the world alights around you. You pass through several rooms along the way, one of them seeming to be like a lodging for, I guess, guests of sort, maybe even royal, I guess, the followers of the Sealy court. You'd pass through another along your way. One sec. Oh, wait, not loading. No. Do. There we are. Pass through another. You'd see it looks to be a small basin made of this both crystal and wood that seems to have an ever flowing, sifting form of water flowing between. And the higher you go, the surrounding plant life reflects more light until it's beaming, till the entire room, the area you're in, is devoid of shadow. It just seems to be overwhelming with light until finally, at its very end, you would find yourselves reaching a high point. It takes you guys quite some time to reach here. You're moving quite quickly flying, but even so, about 30 minutes just straight up going higher and higher into the sky at this gentle pace until finally you reach what looks to be a large set of doors towering in height well over 20 feet. But along its edge, you could see long, gentle writing, and it looks to be Sylvan that begins to glow ever so slightly at your approach. And the doors part way and open up into a massive throne room. It seems that the walls of this place, at its highest point, there is no canopy, there is no ceiling, there is no roof. There is just simple open sky and bright sunlight shining down, filling everything with the warmth and light of a summer sun. All around, you see plant life budding with life, plants and flowers, and even some of them seem to be moving on their own as pixies and sprites take to and from what seems to be their perches. And at the center of this great long throne room, possibly how long, like about 100 feet in total length, is a massive set of stone and otherwise plant structures. It looks to be an old statue of sorts, something that has been since reshaped and repurposed, as all things in the Fae are, surrounded by an overgrowth of life and crystals. A massive sword in its shape, but what resides in its place, a large stone throne, is a massive creature sitting upon her seat. Soft singing can be heard as you enter. The sounds of Fae buzzing life fades away, as instead you enter a room of really what can truly be described as majesty. You can see sitting before this throne, at least one on one arm of it, this massive stone circle, is a friendly looking face. Calliope sitting with a small pixie perched on her shoulder, one that seems to be doting on her like a mother. On the other side, a young son of pale skin and dour demeanor, with your friend Savella hovering just above her shoulder, looking onward to you guys, the approachers, almost nervously, and looks like she has lots of questions on her mind, but none to speak. And sitting upon this massive throne, great in size, but truly it's her presence that dominates this entire room, one that fills it with a strange sense of belonging and warmth, even at the distance, well over 100 feet away, entering inside. You feel this pull, a slight tug inside the chest of each and every one of you, a tug at desire, at want, one that can be quickly recognized and dismissed as some otherworldly force that just seems to try and draw you in. Hair white that shines gold in sunlight, outfit thin, flowing like rivers, like water, but ever so gently billowing in the breeze that now pulls through this room. Hair adorned with the most beautiful flowers one could never find in the prime. You all enter the throne room and are met with the visage, true in person, great in weight, great in magnitude, rather. The Queen of the Sealy Court. As you guys can put yourselves at the bottom of the map.
Now this is more like it.
As Kalon just sort of stands at the doorway, stopped in his tracks, just sort of looking upon this woman whose eyes seem to smile just as gently as her lips do, just looking on to these travelers, these outsiders now taking presence in her room. She smiles and just gives you all a gentle nod, and the smile widens across her face. So good to finally have some new faces in this kingdom. Welcome. Welcome, outsiders. So good to make your acquaintance. Am Queen Titania of the Summer Court. Though I believe my reputation has long since reached through this land, even through this world. Would you please do me the honor of stating your names, though some may ring familiar to me? As she also gestured to you all with this beautiful, long, tall staff covered in flowers that seem to constantly be blooming more plant life across it.
Persephone's going to step forward and give her a curtsy. Hi, my queen. I am Persephone, or you may know me as Lady Valora.
Elora. Elora. Such a beautiful name. I've heard it spoken a few times. Often in a certain voice, but when I hear it, it rings like music to me. As you sort of like, you see her sort of like shiver a little bit and then smile, look to the rest of the group. And you must be the Lord. Ah. Yes, Your Majesty. I am Lord Kaelon of Inalin from the Prime. I am father of Rael and Valora. We've come to... Oh, your manners, your lord. The rest of your guests have not introduced themselves yet. She smiles at him and Kaelon sort of steps back up. Of course, your majesty. Your name?
Step off the carpet, just do a little bow. You may call me Diana Gellner.
Diana Gellner. A pleasure, Diana.
Step forward next to Persephone just ever so slightly. Curtsy in the same manner. Samantha Deus, blessed of the Serpent Empress, Primarch of the Valiant Vanguard, apprentice primum cellum to Tinzin of the Incantation of Tin, and slayer of Obsidius the Pretender. The pleasure is all mine, your majesty.
Many titles, and much respect. Very good, very good. Excellent.
Yes, with hello comes up behind Kilon. Just bows slightly. With hello.
Simple and sweet. A songbird's name. Lovely. Very, very lovely.
Quildora step
Yeah, 'cause
forward.
she's not wearing a dress. Got trousers on, baby.
I'll go down on one knee. The shield comes down immediately in front with the sword over the top. Quildor, shield of Zamaria, the elven sellsword, the sand whisperer, the sharpened quill, and dragon slayer.
Another man of many titles, who carries himself as a knight. I truly love knights. A pleasure, Quildor.
This cat has impeccable timing.
What's my title, Brendan?
Andy the pesty one!
The last time I looked over, there was nothing on you. Then you say that, I look over, there's just a whole cat.
Love me, Brendan!
Tanya, I hope it does not burn your ears. But I am Tamarkan, as the immortal kingdom. As I make a large bow.
A Khan. A Khan. That name rings true in my dreams. I believe I've met a Khan. Perhaps before. Yes, a brave little simian. Well, that's a story there. A new Khan, it seems. Wonderful. A denizen of our own world, coming to grace our kingdom. As she'll sort of pull herself up gracefully from her chair, almost like she's almost stepping to fall off of it, but as her steps come off the ground, you realize her feet gently just touch the edge, and she begins to float forward. What's up, Persephone?
Did Nimines react to my intro at all?
He seems to just sort of be staring. He does seem to be looking at you now, but he just seems to be just sort of staring onward, hands sort of folded before him, just watching these outsiders introduce themselves.
Cool.
Give him thumb. He's going like, at him.
No, that's me.
As Titania gently floats forward off of her throne, gently landing upon the stonework before. It is a pleasure to bring you all here, finding yourselves in this world. From what I have heard, you've taken a truly intrepid journey to arrive. Many stories to be told, but I do have one pressing question in mind. As she'll float forward to the air, directly towards you, Persephone, you see something shifting very strange. Her form seems to be very slowly, gradually changing in size until by the time she reaches you, she's about actually at your own height. Quite short compared to the rest of the group. As she takes your hands in hers and she holds them so gently, you feel this rush of warmth run across you, run across the rest of you as you approach. As I'm gonna need everyone to give me a wisdom save.
Wisdom save on.
Oh, that's not with advantage. It's just a. Is it with advantage?
Seems to be. I'll tell you once you roll
I'll use my inspiration. You didn't go.
it.
Didn't need it.
As this magic begins, this warmth begins to wash over you.
I
Strongest
assume
against
it's
you,
magical.
Persephone. Certainly seems to be. As
Alright, good.
seems to be washing over you all. You feel this sudden pull against you. You feel for a moment this heat take over. It's almost like you're standing next to the sun, even looking at the sun for a moment. And then suddenly that pulling against your heart intensifies. As Quilder, give me one more save.
Hey.
Ooh. See, eins.
We're looking for a 26.
As all of you would feel this sudden pull against your hearts, almost as if like there's this gravitational force that this now smaller but mighty queen seems to exhibit. But most of you are able to steel yourselves against it. Let's see. Quildor, Tamar Khan, and I think that's it. No, Quildor, Tamar Khan, and Swift Hollow. You would feel this sudden pulling against you grow stronger as suddenly the world around you becomes, for a moment, brighter. Actually, so I'll roll one more time because you're an elf.
All the F's.
Oh, I see why. Okay.
Mhm.
It's my indomitable
All the
feat.
oofs.
Okay.
I'm indomitable. Oh, there
20.
you go.
Yep.
Come on,
Plus
game!
Oh, man.
As
Ooh.
Quildor,
Okay.
as Quildor and Tamarkon, Quildor especially trying to steal yourself from this strange feeling trying to take over, suddenly feel the world become brighter around you, and the illustriousness of this Fey Queen becomes overwhelming. In this moment, you find your minds awash with this not obsession, but just a strange feeling of longing, of desire, as if this queen before you is something, someone direly important to you. The knee you sit on right now, Quildor, before her grows heavier. It almost feels like you want to stay on it. Tamar Khan, she seems, I don't know if it's a love interest is a thing in your life, but it seems as if this individual becomes a treasure that you almost have to have, that you have to take with you. And it's taking everything you can to keep yourself from just doing so. But as she holds your hands, Persephone, you see her look up into your eyes, this grace and beauty suddenly changing ever so slightly as her tone tilts. Can you please tell me what Rail is like? What does he look like? What does he talk like? Are his hands warm? Does he look like your father? Please just tell, I'm dying to know.
Whoa.
Good enough.
Whoa. Wow. Oh my god.
Did not seem so
Well,
great to me.
well, Rel is great. I thought you two have talked through the portal or something.
Oh, we've talked. When he spoke, he hesitated. When he said it, it is a pleasure to meet you. Oh, a thoughtful pause from a mortal mind racing to find the right word to perfectly encapsulate the love of a heart-spoken verse. Oh, and when he spoke, there was ever just the slightest tone of sorrow. She starts to float off the ground around you, just sort of letting herself dance through the air. Oh, sorrow from a heart heavy, longing to see a true love.
I am
And then, and
disgusted.
then, and then he cleared his throat. Oh, no doubt choking upon the emotions when he heard me speak my intentions to him. Oh, he's so pure, so honest, so absolutely divine. Oh, so tell me, does he share your eyes? Does he share your father's eyes? Lord Kelon, does he share your father's eyes?
Well, if I had to describe him, I like to think my family like the seasons. My father's very much winter. I'm very much like spring. Think of my brother like summer.
Oh, summer. Summer, that is what I am. That is what I represent. That is all I yearn to be, my sister to be. Oh, a king and queen of summer. Oh, it is a match made to be. As she floats off the ground and lands back into her chair, just sort of letting her feet dangle. And as they sort of hang in the air, her size begins to restore itself. Oh, I apologize, my guests. I could not help myself. The excitement, it's too much to bear. The wedding is just around the corner. It's going to happen. Oh, true love, and a happily ever after to a long and winding fairy tale.
Queen Titania, I have a question for you, because I know you've been speaking with my brother, and this is a very exciting occasion. Tell me, how is it that you heard of him? How did you meet?
Oh, well, it was by the word of Lord Galleon, a traveler from your world. He seems to be traveling far across the realms. He goes quite different places, and seems that he was able to truly pull a mortal heart and bestow its grace upon me. I was doubtful at first. Mortals, although they are quite tempting, can be quite as troublesome as the Fae. But when I heard his voice, I knew it. His heart spoke true of love selfless, love that had no dire, twisted connotation, no hidden intentions, love for another that one would do anything to protect. How can one not simply fall in love at such a beautiful heart? As you look over to your side, Persephone, and you have never seen as much confusion and horror on the face of Lord Kelon.
Oh! I wrap my arms around my father's arms and give her a big smile.
Well, I am so overjoyed to be here because, as you know, none of us have been able to see you. Not even my brother. So we made the journey all the way here so that we get to meet you and speak with you and hang out with you and become friends right before the wedding.
That's such a wonderful idea. Oh,
Isn't it a wonderful idea, Father?
As you'll see her reach down and pick up Calliope in her hands, now so large that this tiny, all of you of sort of similar size, would rest in her palm. As small as those pixies are to you, you seem to be compared to her. As she gets picked up in her hand, I just thought it'd be a fun idea. I mean, they seem to be very, very keen on meeting you, Mother. Oh, such a beautiful gift for this wedding. Thank you so much, Calliope, as she just hugs her and sort of smushes her up against her cheek. As Kalon just sort of remains silent, just staring on. Your Majesty, forgive my silence. I too am thrilled for this union to come. As you sort of go silent again, just sort of staring off at her, completely caught off guard.
I wonder, is he thrilled? I just give my father a good old friendly arm hug and look into his heart.
Oh, he doesn't seem to
this
resist
moment.
you absolutely at all. You see, in this moment, he is completely awash and overwhelmed with this sensation of really confusion more than anything else, but a heavy hanging of dread. less so of like mortal fear and more of just out of expectation, it seems.
I
And
told you this was a good idea. I just smile at him.
I'm simply not quite used to the nature of the Fae. You are quite a glorious and affectionate being, Your Majesty. But the pact that is made, you are still intended to keep it, indeed? Oh, yes, of course. That she sort of, you kind of notice she almost absent-mindedly drops Caliphy. Ah! And she lands on one of the rocks, fortunately at her side. It is as the Lord Galilean had described. Once the wedding has been completed, and his heart is made mine, you shall have your blessing. The land of Inalin and the presiding surrounding lands will be blessed with that of the Sealy Court's gift. Magic will run amok, abound truly. Under the control of the Fae, you will have your power. Your son will be, well, he'll be long-lived, we'll say that much. Oh, a long-lived life between two glorious lovers. I'm just excited already thinking about it. It's happening. It's truly happening.
Can you, Queen Titania? Ceremonies like this are very different where we come from. Can you tell me what a ceremony like this means for you and is like? I know life in the Feywild is very fluid, and not so much in the Prime. So I guess I'm really curious. Tell us a story about what's to come.
Oh, certainly. But you're also weary, still standing on your feet. You can fly in here, you know. Yeah,
I
give me a moment.
I teleport over to sit in front of her.
Very well. I shall grant you all seatage if you'd like, as her hand just waves and the stone around you almost silently shifts in form, almost like as if being amorphous for a moment. As before you, this massive table seems to rise up, surrounded by an assortment of chairs. This glowing ring of light seems to just form around it, almost forming out of the earth itself. Come, everyone take a seat, enjoy yourselves. Are you hungry? Oh, I know you mortals love to eat all sorts of things. I can prepare any meal you wish.
This is sort of happening, and just seeing the shock on Kalon's face. I just sort of reach in and pull out the wonderful bottle of rum and just turn and offer it to him.
He gingerly takes it from your hand and holds it at his side.
I just pat him on the shoulder.
Oh, can you I haven't had this in a really long while. Could we have the Feast of Spring's Awakening?
Feast of Spring's Awakening.
Are you familiar with it?
I know of many feasts of the spring, but tell you what, I'll give you them all. As she waves her hands forward, and almost like someone flips a rug or a carpet, there's a wave of material. Her hand waves forward, a rush of wind goes past you guys, rolls across the table, and where it seems like anything on top would have been knocked away, instead in its place something flips over into existence. As just a feast of what seemed to be sweet and gentle meals seem to just cover the entire surface of this table, until literally there's not even really much room for other plates. It seems to be abound like a banquet. Enjoy yourselves, please, and I'll relish you with a tale, I seems.
I beckon for Savella to come over as I make my way to the table.
As she looks over at Nimines, who seems to be just keeping himself poised and quiet. Yeah, absolutely. She flutters over. I did not expect to see you here.
I didn't expect to see you. Or him. Here. In the Sealy.
That's where he's lived all of his life. As you hear booming out from behind, as food covers the table. If you guys want to eat or do anything, it's fine. Titania sort of seats herself. Well, let's see. You wanted to know about the ceremony, is that right?
Uh-huh.
Well, all right then. I have many stories of the ceremony. It's happened quite so many times. And you see, when two lovers, those of the Arch, or otherwise in this case, one of the Arch, bind themselves together, they announce their vows, an undying, unending, true vow of love and adoration for one another. They connect themselves in both heart and soul, becoming truly one being, so that no matter how the changes of the wilds come upon them, no matter what forces try to drive them apart or take them or turn them into something new, they will always remain true into themselves. Not even the greatest storm can break those bound in love. Although it's a bit different when it comes to mortals, I suppose. Two arms, a bit stronger, easier to bind themselves. Oh no, in this case, a mortal must give himself fully to the arch, in both body and soul, and heart.
So, for Rail to become long lived, it means that he becomes physically and spiritually one with you. Is that
Yes.
it?
Oh, of course.
Ah!
As you, as just a bunch of rum spills out of Kale's bottle
I-
mouth as he puts it down. Could you, your Majesty, oh, I apologize. This
I
is
have the
unbeca-
cheekiest. I have the smuggest fucking grin on my face looking at my dad.
This is quite unbecoming of me. I feel like I'm being overwhelmed by the presence of this great and magical court. Would you please elaborate on what exactly you mean by bound? I know it might be a inappropriate question to ask someone of your grace, but for my own clarity. Oh, it's quite simple, actually. When two, I suppose in this case a mortal, binds himself to his arch queen, he will renounce his mortality. He will in time become Fae, and to do so, he must give himself to her. In this case, his heart, as Galen sort of stops, physically. Yes, of course, his heart.
So he'll die.
Oh, no. Sorry. Mortals have such a very simple view on such things. No. When an arch takes one's heart, it belongs to them. The devotee will live on forever, so long as the arch lives. But you'll be taking out his, you'll be mutilating my son. Well, it's not that simple. You're young, you don't quite understand it.
Is it anything? I've read some stories. Is it anything like when a fae takes somebody's name?
Well, certainly is. Something precious that belongs to you. Once it becomes someone else's, well, it replaces something. But isn't that what you want, Lord Caerlon? Galleon said that you feared for your children's mortality. Understandable. Mortals often speak and write terrible and wonderful stories about the process of, well, their passing. Nothing like the Fae. But if he becomes one with me, you never have to worry about him dying. He'll always live. He'll outlive you. He'll outlive your friends here. He'll outlive his sister. He'll outlive everything. And happily ever after. Uh, by the gods.
So,
As he just looks up at you, Persephone, and just stares and then looks back up to the queen, and then just sort of. Your father just looks incredibly lost.
so if you are to be bound together, how do situations like I'm sorry if no one's supposed to talk about this, but I really want to know, how do situations like the Storm Matron and the Dark-Eyed Fae happen? Were they not bound?
As her smile fades.
Uh-oh.
Music stops. I love.
She'll sort of like adjust herself in her seat, and you see her like sort of toss her hair to and fro. The Storm Matron and the Dark-Eyed Fae is a tale of love betrayed, of hearts dishonest, and of reason why a Fae marriage between two of mercurial hearts can never be. It is a story of a heart that was given away foolishly by an ignorant queen who knew no better. Hmm. As she sort of like adjusts her hair again and then smiles at you guys.
That was very interesting. Do I read anything further into that?
You certainly seem to. It seems as if the mere mention of this creature obviously brought a dour mood to everything. You can see even Calliope sort of like shifts away from the queen as Titania sort of has to readjust herself to actually answer you. And she speaks with seems to be, with your incredibly high passive insight, a sensation of familiarity. A queen such as her, who has lost something great, must learn from her mistake. They cannot be trusted with hearts. They change. Only when truly given the vow can their word be taken true, but no. No, a thief will simply take before permanence is applied. And that's why Titania needs the love of an honest heart, you see. One that she can only find in a mortal. Others have tried and failed. This ceremony is quite complicated, you see. Queen Maelstroma sought love from a brave warrior from your world. But that brave heart caved once he finally faced her and saw her majesty. It broke his spirit, and it broke her. Queen Solsticera sought love from nature, but that love was not hers to take, not hers to be given. Queen Athronis sought love from her children, though children grow and change too. As she looks down over at Calliope, who just sort of kicks her feet excitedly, and then looks over at Nemenes, who just sort of keeps his eyes away from her down towards you. And when one's
I
grasp on your children grows too tight, it simply causes them to slip away. But Queen Titania, her story would be different. She has kept the storm in check, parting the clouds with endless sun. She is the calm that follows the storm, the sun that dries the world's tears. And with that pure heart, the storms of sorrow will be no more. She will be at peace. She'll be the beloved queen who all adore, for she shall bring them joy. She will be the happily ever after to a long and sorrowful fairy tale.
Are you not adored already?
I am loved by those who wish to love me. I am powerful, and I am beautiful, and I am kind. For that is Titania. What more? Hearts twisted by darkness? Hearts twisted by malicious fae who take hearts. No, no, there could always be more. More to love. More to love you. The more you are loved, the more love you have. And she puts her hand on her chest. And that is what it means to love. It fixes broken things. With love, even the strongest, broken and damaged, will never fall apart again.
Samantha just sort of looks up at her, seeing all of this regality and this power and all of this everything. You're trying to fill that hole too, aren't you? She just remarks to herself as she passes a value judgment.
So, Queen Titania, just as a hypothetical, say, I, for example, caught the heart of, a divine being, glanced at Samantha. Let's say, that person wanted to marry me, and I was marrying them out of obligation. What would happen? Obligation, not love.
A divine being? You speak
If
of
I
your
was,
god.
if I was only so lucky.
I'm not certain. The rules of the wilds are not the rules of your heavens, although at times their powers perhaps might rival one another. I cannot say.
Oh, that didn't work.
Is there a queen of the Unseelie court?
There was. A queen of air and darkness, Athronis. It is an ever shifting as the seasons.
But there isn't a current one. Athronis is... What was it? Everywhere now.
She was. Now the seat lies empty, only her sorrowful song remains.
That's right, okay. So, we know what happened with the Thronus. What of the others when they could not find their true love? This pattern seems to
Was
repeat itself.
was Maelstroma the one that infused the Prime with magic after her lover left?
She was the first of my kind to step forward. And when she was rejected, when the heart broke, her emptiness consumed her and it destroyed her. Just as it destroyed Solsticera, just as it nearly destroyed her Thronus, until she was saved by Titania.
You
The
saved the
ever-shifting.
Thronus.
Of course, a dream will always save someone. A new goal, a new desire. As you see her raise her hands and the soft billow runs across the table, basically a gale. And you see between her fingers, soft sunlight begins to glow before it races as a soft trace of lightning. Seelie and unseelie, two sides of the same coin. A summer queen, a storm matron. A warm heart broken, destroying itself over and over in its place. A sad and sorrowful tale that I in many past lives have lived through. But I would be the last. No more unhappy endings. Your brother, your wonderful little brother, will save me.
Titania, I am sure your love for the boy is true, but you spoke of how a mortal, once tried before, could not withstand the majesty of a fair law. And yet, an immortal is not what you seek. Have you ever thought of something in between? Something that is both. Something that could
What?
live in your majesty.
Persephone looks at Tamar Khan with like a accusatory, like, "The fuck are you doing?"
What are you offering me, little con? Do you have a more noble heart than Rael?
It has yet to be tasted. I have to admit, I thought it's all fun and games to come here, to meet the Twin Titania. Like other fellows to see them, to learn of them. But I have to admit I have been struck. Not much has caught desire so much. Is that so wrong?
You can see her face sort of flush up with light as she sort of like puts her hand over. I see it is a pleasure to hear this. But where do your desires lie? Are you selfless in nature? I have known a Khan before, brave and true. He made me a promise to return that which was taken long, long ago. But he never returned. His word was not true. Can you say the same of yours?
I can tell you that my adventure, my journey, has taken me to search the love of my people, and I believe that you could give that to them. If I have failed in the past, another of me, would you give me a second chance? If the task was finally done.
Sort of sits up a little bit and looks down at you with a look of concern. An impossible task to ask.
Get up from my chair.
Whoa.
There has been many and impossible things that a Khan has done. Given a lifetime or two, it could be done.
And she sort of stops and looks down at you. Roll me a persuasion check with advantage.
A love check.
Aw, yeah.
Get
Believe in me.
us a meta
What do I got on
quest.
persuasion? +0?
Ooh.
Come on, Nat 20!
Oh yeah.
Hey, nice
Hey.
20.
Ooh.
As she gazes down upon you, Tamar Khan, with a moment like of a slight fluster, but mostly just not accusation, but just observation. And as she sees your somewhat love-struck demure, your sort of longing gaze, she sort of adjusts herself in her seat. You speak with his confidence, that much is certain. But the task itself, I assure you, is beyond the reach of even mortals, perhaps even that in between, if you share his blood. No. What I yearned for, what I dared to dream for, was a return of something stolen, not from me, not from Titania, but from Elystroma. The heart that was taken by the dark-eyed crow, Dub Cathar. My dreams tell me he was kind once, gentle, loving. He saw something, saw everything inside of others, could see their truest nature. Although perhaps he would see what you just desired, what you wanted to see, what you wanted to hear. Ah, as you see her like sort of losing herself for a moment, and you can see sort of sparks running across her form, and her hair starts to sort of rise and fall as if wind sort of building up around her. We gave ourselves away, love unrequited, and once it was his. And she puts her hand back on her chest. What was once mine, my love, my heart, was taken, stolen away to this dark creature's nest, to the depths of where he lies. Within, others he's stolen, trinkets and treasures, hearts of other creatures he's taken as his own lie within. Brave warriors such as yourself have offered themselves, offered in love, in respect, in generosity to retrieve them. But they do not return. Not killed, no, not slain. The Fae have nothing to fear from death. They return changed, their hearts stolen, aligned to a dark-eyed Fae.
It seems like an eagle ask, I say. To offer my heart to you, I know I am not worthy of such a thing. But if I wish for your heart to take my own, you will need yours back to Kiev. Easier now. I'll begin the hunt theme. I hope you wait for my return.
Queen
As I
Titania.
turn my head to the party.
I look back at
Stop
Tamar
this
and then
wedding, yes? Give your friend a chance?
Queen Titania, if we were to get back your heart, you would have no need to take it from another, to take a heart from another.
I would have what I want, yes. Rail. But Rail does, as you see her, like her form start to lighten up again. But Rail does love me, though I would hate to cause him harm. Heartbreak is a terrible thing to suffer. It can destroy a person.
I know. I know what that's like. But I'm still here. And in the time since my own heartbreak, I've found others that I love and that love me, and I'm still as happy and bright as a summer's day. Maybe we mortals are a little more resilient to the emotional effect. Maybe Rael will be fine. But if it's your heart that you need, we can get that back for you.
To ask this of you would be to send you to a doom, you mortals more soft. Perhaps you would die. I cannot ask you to do so. If you were as intrepid as that Khan, as brave when returned successful, I would be ashamed to break your brother's heart. But it would be done. And as a reward, you would have my blessing. The blessing of countless queens who have been broken by the pain of heartbreak.
Oh, where can we find this nest then?
It is not a land that I dwell on. And she sort of turns her head away, and you can see more static running along her hair. When I think his name, when I speak it, and I remember those eyes, I nearly fall apart. But you can be led
It's
there,
always the eyes.
led there by the heartbreak. There is one who can lead you, guide you along the right path. As she
I
turns her
slowly
head down.
Nemones.
No, also look
As
at Nemones.
Nemones sort of keeps his eyes closed until he opens them. Heartbreak is my nature. It is what I am. It is what I've become. The pain in my chest would guide me. As he sort of just bows. You're such a good boy, Nemones. As he just reaches
Never
down
has ever.
and picks him up and then just gives him like a little gentle kiss on the side of his head and puts him back down. If you would allow me, with the Khan's aid, we can find this nest. It is kept quite hidden. The dark-eyed crow is known to keep his paths twisted and contorted, dotted with fae who would cause you harm, to slow you down, if not torture you along the way. As he steps forward and sort of lifts up his finger, almost like a bird, expecting a bird to perch, and you see Savella sort of rest upon it. And he stops and looks over at you, Persephone. But only if you would allow it.
We're going. That's final.
I guess not going to eat the food. I mean, I don't want to break the tension. It's a very beautiful mood here, but they double out the food here. And you see
Persephone was eating throughout the course of the story.
There's just a lot of it left. I'm just saying. You see Titania like reach down and sort of pick up Caleb P and sort of give her a little squeeze and kiss her on the side of the head. Caleb P, it is fine. This is fine. This is fine.
We'll
They're
take them
going
for the road.
Oh, wonderful! Yes, I'll prepare you boxes. As poof, you see all around you, the air seems to shimmer. A burst of petals seems to fill the air, and then the food just seems to pull itself into boxes and land before you. Strangely, ornately, almost like expertly crafted boxes. As this tiny little thing floats up into your hands. Wonderful, so very wonderful.
Oh, but Father, if it's truly dangerous, maybe you should stay back.
You should definitely stay here.
Should definitely stay here.
I believe that is a good idea.
Yes, is there a room he can stay in?
Of course, if there's not, we can always make more. I can make anything. Queen
Wonderful.
Titania, I would actually like to speak with you in private.
Ooh,
He looks back at
As
you.
I grab a Kylon by his sleeve.
I made a promise to Rail, and if you recall, in my note, I told you what I'm doing is going to make sense one day.
I pat his arm.
I hope that's today.
So we are going to go find your heart queen, and you're going to bless the lands of Lord Kalon with your blessing.
Of course. Unless there's something else you desire.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly what we desire. That is perfect, right? That's exactly what we desire.
As I look, as I like.
watch Samantha approaching her.
Oh no.
Well, yes.
As the jaw just unhinges.
Something countless have failed at. But it seems not necessarily the wisest path, but a path nonetheless. There is something I desire, Titania, the Summer Queen.
And what might that be?
Answers to questions pertaining to the upper realms.
Not
Can you
certain if I
provide
know.
them?
Answers are hard to reach beyond this veil, but I know more than most mortals or even those immortal know. I can tell you what I know. Although I must admit, the Fey memory is a strange thing. Lifetimes lived, remembered as a dream, but remembered nonetheless. I can answer as best as I can.
Think of ravens, think of serpents, think of spiders, and see that you remember if you can. I need answers. And that is all.
Answers it is. What of the rest of you? I will not limit my joy to a simple blessing, to a magic bestowment. If there's something you wish, I could grant it, but you must understand this is being granted due to the magnitude of this task. The dark-eyed crow is more than a powerful being. He's a trickster, a manipulator. He will deceive and lie, and in his hands he holds the heart of an archfey, an object of great power. Something that cannot simply be taken. It must be given, just as it was given to him.
I look back up at the quest flag to see if there's any warning markers next to it. I don't see any. Interesting. All right. Seems good to me. Is there a red exclamation point and or a skull next to this?
Certainly seems like it by the nature.
If the blessing, I would like that to be on behalf of my father. If I have any requests, I will have to think on that, and maybe I'll have my decision when we bring back your heart. If that's not asking too much, I don't want to ask for too much.
You cannot ask for too much. You've shown such great kindness and perseverance, although I must say I'm hesitant of my hopes. I'm very hesitant.
That's okay. It's okay for you to be hesitant after everything you've been through. That's part of the healing.
It's wisdom.
We'll
And-
probably do the same as Persephone. Then I don't have much on my mind right now.
See, Diana.
Anything for you, Koldor? Or Swift Hollow?
I'll think on your offer. On your reward.
Very well.
There's much to ponder upon. From an archfey, nonetheless.
Queen Titania, is there a way that you could make me the greatest knight the kingdom of Tyrion has ever known?
I can certainly grant you the blessing to lead you down the path. I can grant you a gift to strengthen your resolve, sharpen your blade, even steal your mind. But you must answer a question when you return. There are many knights, far few in the Feywild, but I've heard stories of them. Not many Fey have the hearts so stout, so resolute, to dedicate themselves to an oath. Many far too mercurial, always chaotic. I want to know what kind of knight you'd wish to be.
You will have my answer when we return your heart.
Very well. I do
Alright.
hope you find yourselves rested within this kingdom before before departing, it seems as if your Khan is already quite certain to get on the path.
Yeah, we probably need to bring him back. But Niminis,
We'll get him.
if you're familiar with the place, you could give us a bit of a briefing so we could depart tomorrow morning fully prepared.
Your will be done, my lady. I just gives
Call
you
me,
a bow.
call me Persephone.
If that is what you wish for, Persephone. As he sort of walks off, sort of after the path where Tamar Khan wandered off. You are free to enjoy all the pleasures and luxuries of our Gaia while you are here. And please, if you find this journey, this task too great, do not steel your hearts to it. I truly adore you. Though I've known you only for moments, I do. Do not, please, do not throw yourselves away.
As I smile and I give Queen Titania a curtsy and turn around and stop by my father one last time. On a more serious note, Father, whatever it is that you want to discuss with her, keep it light. Emotions of the Fae are frail, and they shift drastically. As I turn over and look at Niminis. You don't want to put her into a state of winter.
I simply have questions, is all. I have no intention of meddling with your plan. As you'll see him actually reach up and put a hand on your shoulder, Persephone, and give it like a soft squeeze. Thank you. As he'll just sort of walk by and head up to talk to the Queen, as the rest of you, by pixies and sprites, start to get ushered out. And yep, you'd find yourself basically for the remainder of the day, unless you want to go travel around and do some simple shopping. There's not really much to buy here. Everything is bartered. Basically just hanging out in your Fae room, preparing for what seems to be a travel ahead. If there's anything you guys want to do in your, basically, however long you guys are going to be waiting, probably a night or so.
Try to go
Let's see if
track
they
down
have-
Tamar Khan.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
gone.
do I make it to the
Fucking gone.
Unseelie Wood yet?
He's gone.
Oh, are you already gone? Ooh.
I'm
It takes
just
you-
sprinting for it, motherfucker.
It. He booked
All right.
it.
You would probably have made it about 10 minutes down, still heading out flying, before you find an actual knothole to escape from. I'd say the party probably be escaping, or I guess rather leaving the throne room by the time you're already far, far, far ahead of them. And yeah, I think by the time they'd probably see you, maybe like 1,000, 2,000 feet ahead of you, all surrounded by light, still flying. All of your magic still seems to allow you to fly. You'd be immediately darting out through one of the knotholes once they realize, oh, there you are. And then you'd be outside, basically flying until basically you feel the magic starting to fade as you start to go down, 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 down. Maybe only about 10 minutes or so. But yeah, you'd be flying, shooting off with the party about 2,000 feet behind you.
Yeah, as soon as the magic fades, I just take a grasp of the tree and I just start bounding my way down the tree.
He'll figure it out that we're not following him eventually.
Do you think so?
Probably not, but if he dies, at least he doesn't end up marrying the queen.
Well, I don't think he was going to marry the queen. When she has her heart back, she won't really be desperate to marry anyone.
I mean, then he'll be
Heart
heartbroken.
wants what the heart wants.
Do we really want to deal with a heartbroken Tamar Khan?
Better than dealing with a heartless rail.
Shall I catch him?
Can you catch
That would
him?
be useful,
He is
yes.
rather slippery. He probably has put oil all over himself.
Oh God!
Can you, better yet, can you clear his mind? Your mother has a way with people, it seems.
Indeed. I have magic that can cleanse the mind of all thoughts, mostly those. I can catch him. As he just shakes his head. As he will jump off the edge of the tree and just not quite as fast as Tamar Khan, because holy shit, Tamar Khan with fly speed is crazy fast, but basically go off in the direction behind Tamar Khan, trying to fly down after him. I'd say You're still about ahead of them, Tamarcon. You'd reached like the roots of this tree, looking off towards the dark forest ahead. And it's about this time that the feeling still strong starts to fade ever so slightly as the further and further you seem to drift away from this massive tree full of love and life and the resplendent light inside. The feeling lingers, but it's no longer truly heavy in your heart. Some clarity begins to come back to you, although it's that feeling still lingers. It almost feels like it would grow strong again if you were to return.
I start to jaunt away from the roots as I slow my step. This is, this may be a little bit more foolish than... Ah! Fair lord indeed. I just sort of turn around and look back up the tree.
You'd see this tiny, I guess now growing blue figure flying down towards you before he seems to, almost through the use of magic, sort of step on the tree horizontally as he looks at you, gives you a up and down. Has your heart been settled, Khan?
In part. It seems your mother wanted to have a bit of fun with me. I do
She
not
carries,
blame her. Of course. I could not.
she carries a presence of warmth and love with her. It is what she wishes. She wants love, and she will be loved.
True enough. I apologize for my actions. I have not been in the presence of a Fae as powerful as her in quite some time. It is impressive, but I should have not lost myself in such a way.
Love
Huh?
is a strange thing, Khan. It can twist the heart and change you. Just do not let it break you.
Truer words have never been spoken. What of my fellows? I would return to them, but I can still feel that yearning. I feel if I return, I would make for the unseelie once again.
As he would just simply reach forward, stepping, I guess now floating closer towards you, and just gently put a hand on your chest. You'd feel this sudden chill run across your body as if, again, that sort of warmth that you've been bestowed upon suddenly gets swallowed up by a moment of cold, and the feeling that lingers now fades away as this sort of dispelling magic runs across you. This should
Shut
save
the...
you for now.
I shut it down the spine, but... Uh, deep in cold water, good enough clear the head. Thank you, my friend. I hope I did not offend you lady.
Mother's quite taken by those who are taken by her. And she looks up at the tree, up at the direction for you guys sort of exited. How is Persephone? Has she changed?
I have to admit, I have not known Persephone for overly long. We have only known each other for a few months, if even that. And from the time she has some strength and weakness, like most what. But she has the courage to face what basically no one would. A bit crazy that way, as you have to be.
As you have to be. As you see like him just stare up at that hole for quite some time, and you see him put his hand like out of his chest for a moment and move it back down. Good to hear. Anyway, apologies. It's unbecoming of me to find myself lost in thought. Let us
Course
return. He just
Thank you, my friend.
flutters back at the tree.
Did Sabella go with him, or is she still with us?
She's still with you.
Sabella, I need you to start talking right now. What happened to him? He was not like this when he left.
Well, yeah, I told you what happened. The Throness called him back. He came back to her. She was really cross when he left, and well, he resisted. He spoke his mind, and words were exchanged. Well, the storm grew out of control, and it harmed him. And sort of why she's one of the reasons why she's Titania now. She got tired of keeping her children too close. He's fine now. He's back. He's all safe now. But
No, he's not the same.
he's just a little heartbroken, little not heartbroken. Felt like he lost you.
I,
Takes a sip of her big gulp.
Oh yeah, the rum is just
Oh,
out.
yeah.
It's fine. Anyone can have some.
Mm,
I,
that's some good Queen Titania ale.
I wasn't thinking clearly when I was with him, and I made the mistake of speaking unreasonably and expecting something from him that I shouldn't have. I'm glad he felt so strongly that he spoke against his mother, but I think giving him that kind of hope is part of what hurt him the most. And I guess I didn't want him to make the same decision I did. I left my family without warning, without a goodbye. And from the moment I left, I worried about them. I didn't want the same for him, so I told him to go back to tell his mother. A part of me knew that he wasn't going to come back. I guess even I hoped otherwise.
Yeah, that's that's sort of the good and bad thing about the Fae, Persephone, is they always come back. Might not always be the same, but he's still. He looks different. He acts different. He's just a little cold now. I can tell though. I've been around him so long now. Oh my gosh, Persephone, I've been around him so long that I can tell he's happy to see you. Even though he doesn't smile, he doesn't really do that much anymore. You kind of have to force it with your fingers.
Do you think there is a chance that he could come out of that? I don't know much about Fae, so when they change, I don't know how permanent it is.
All I can do is try. Just talk to him, maybe. Just, I mean, you seem like you've gone through a lot. You've got wings now. That's pretty nice. You,
Yeah,
you might just need to talk to you again, but not like with all your the queen and friends around.
right.
Or me. I could go. I could go.
And hide in a bush until we're done talking, like last time.
I have to keep an eye on the young lord. It is my purpose.
Wait, does Canopy have one of you?
Oh, Cherub, she's too nice. She doesn't really keep track of Caleb.
I was about to say, it sadly seems like she is not doing her job.
To
She
be
treats
fair,
her-
though, it's very hard to keep track of Calliope.
She treats her more
Tamakon
like
did
a
it.
she treats her more like a toy than anything. Cherub just kind of deals with it. And oh my gosh, Lucerne. Lucerne has lost
Who's
pixie
in
purposes.
Oh my god!
Did he lose them, or did he just burn them to see if they would catch fire?
See, that's how I know you know Lucerne, because you know the answer to that.
Yeah, of course.
He really likes
Well,
seeing them change form.
Oh no. It's probably good for them that he lost his pixie privileges.
Yep. Yeah. He's really not here though, is he? He didn't come with you
No.
guys?
No.
Okay.
No, he's probably burning well, anything he can right now.
Isn't he in your home? Isn't he? Is
Yes.
it Kingdom? Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I
I'm
met
so
him trying
sorry.
to burn my crystal tree, Savella.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would be there supervising him, but I don't want to end up as a reason why he hasn't viewed their people.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You need to take care of Niminis. I'm glad you've been able to stay by his side. I've been worried about him.
I've been worried about you. As you see, rounding the corner, this giant antlers pops around the knothole, and the Niminis floats on, followed by Tamar Khan. He has been retrieved.
No, my friends.
Ah,
Are you
Did you
still in
enjoy
love
the
with?
show?
Are you still in love with the queen? Are you going to pledge allegiance to her now? How do we explain this to your brothers?
It seems like the queen wanted to see the monkey dance for a bit.
You are a very good dancer, Tamarcon.
this seems to be a generational pattern. I would not be surprised if one of your forefathers felt the same and probably snapped out of it in the end.
Well,
Possibly.
while you're gone, Tamarkan, Niminis is going to show us where to find the crow's nest, but because obviously we didn't plan for this, we're going to figure out everything that we need to know about him so that we can prepare, and we'll set off tomorrow morning.
Oh, so we're still going after the black-eyed fairy.
Yes!
Indeed.
Oh,
Um,
and one crucial detail, this isn't. We're not taking the heart. It was given to him, it must be given to us.
that's certainly
You
doable.
planned to trick the greatest trickster in the Phalanx.
Didn't you technically like steal it? I thought that was the thing.
That'd
No,
be a story worth telling.
It was freely given to him by the Storm Matron, and
She
then
was
he
in love.
absconded with it.
She gave her heart to someone that she loved, and he left with it. And she hasn't quite figured out how to put herself back together afterwards.
Now, I am not one to truly plan for failure. It's not really my style. But this is something that has, well, not been accomplished, no matter how many people have tried. Quite different to killing a dragon. That has been done before. Even Lisanne, in all of his madness and flame obsession, has killed numerous ones. Something unthinkable where we come from. This is not something to be taken lightly. Something even Queen Titania does not expect us to accomplish. Does not want us to lose ourselves in some foolhardy quest. So, with that in mind, do we have any other ideas for what it is we came here for in the first place that does not involve losing ourselves in an ancient Feylord feud?
Well, what is.
If you
What
want
is
me
the
to marry the queen, just ask me.
No,
That,
what.
that's the Feylord feud option to mark on. You go and get the heart, you bring it to her, then you propose to her, and she gets swept up in the motion and accepts it, and we end up with a weird Feywild for a few generations. But no,
Sopranities! I like it.
Well, we know there's a division in the Unseelie Court. There are the Fae that look up to the Dark-Eyed Fae, and then there are those who took the side of the Storm Matron. So I guess we'll probably be running into a lot of his followers. Are they all giants and cyclops, or what other kinds of Fae tend to look up at this creature of trickery?
The dark-eyed fae, trickster and a twister of hearts, not only one who takes them. Those who truly follow him come in all shape and form. Whatever kindness lies in their eyes has been replaced by malice and deceit.
But Unan was so nice.
It's because he thought that you were a goddess.
I like to think if he were to see me again, then perhaps he would remember how kind I was to him, and then we can stay friends.
After you made him think you were a goddess.
I didn't do that on purpose. I just wanted to be friends. He's the one that called me a goddess.
No, it's completely understandable. A creature that wants to worship something will find a way to worship something.
But this doesn't answer Samantha's question. And honestly, I don't really have an answer to that. I was kind of hoping we would have discussed that before meeting the queen.
Before meeting or leaving? Didn't quite hear you.
meeting the queen.
Ah.
Because the only other option is to just break up the wedding, which would have bad consequences.
Grave
my-
consequences.
I think even my father is against it at this point.
I don't think your father even knows what he wants anymore.
Did you see his face?
Yes.
What his face when he realized that the queen was going to rip out your brother's heart? Does a
Now
face
imagine
ever
a
want
heartbroken queen gets her empty heart broken again. I feel like that would have terrible repercussions, so I kind of feel like this is our only option.
I
would
agree.
assume it would just make another Fey Lord. It seems that was the trend. She was once the Storm Matron, she was once the one that held on to her children too tightly. The one that had a brave warrior. Is it not the same Fey Lord just being reincarnated every time here?
Yeah,
That
but
is my
every
understanding.
time it dies, or at least the last one caused everything in the Elven lands. If that happens again, it can have unknown consequences.
I would assume it would put the entire realm in a great long winter.
Yeah. It sounds like every instance of her heartbreak somehow shaped not just this world, but even ours. Her heart was stolen and she created the Gnarlwood and the Unseelie Court for what it is now. Her heart was
And
broken in another
abandoned it.
instance. It's probably a painful reminder for her. And that's part of why I want to get her heart back. She hasn't healed. She hasn't learned how to cope with the heartbreak and grow from it. She keeps clinging on to thinking this is this peace that she desperately needs. And maybe in the case of Faye it is. I don't know, but my policy is that we have to try. We're not going to throw our lives away. We don't have to throw our lives away trying to get this. If we find that it's not something we can bring back to her, then we go back to the original plan, which is to talk to her. Maybe us coming back alive would be enough. I mean, others that have gone haven't even returned.
Were you alive when all this was happening between your mother and Black-Eyed Faye? Do you know much about him?
This was before my time, but his tale is as long told in the Sealy Court as it is a horror story in your world. When first met, he was a prankster, a trickster. He enjoyed games, enjoyed bets, enjoyed challenges. But truly, he enjoyed stirring the heart of the queen, saying the words she wished for him to hear, seeing true into her heart until he had her in his hand, and then taking what he wanted once it was offered. He has done so before to others. Stories say he's even slipped his hands, his talon, through other worlds themselves and plucked treasures from them. They say he's even reached as high as a divine, but only a single grasp, clutching not treasures, not weapons, not power, but just mere feathers that he adorns himself in now. If you
Do you
allow
think
it,
he
he will
could
take
be?
everything.
Interesting.
Do you believe he could be reasoned with? What should we do to try and bargain with him?
The dark-eyed Fae covets power, that which he can take to make himself greater. If you can have something that it would barter with him, something worth the weight of a heart, I see no reason why he would not trade it, but I would also assume, being of his mischief, someone of his cunning or craft, would try to twist the words to receive both and give you nothing.
So it must trick the trickster.
But we also need to have something we can trick him with. Do we have anything in the chest?
No.
Oh. I don't know if this would do it, but I got this.
As Persephone opens her herbalist kit and pulls out the core of the overgrown, shambling mound.
What on earth is that?
A core of fey-infested plant life on the prime material plane?
Certainly pales in comparison to the heart and love of an archfey that rules over an entire section of this world. Apologies, but I do not
I'm new
believe
to
that will
this.
suffice.
Okay.
So I put it back.
Honestly, I don't think there's anything we can offer to match. I assume he gets some sort of power from the heart itself, right? Or it's just like a
Certainly.
trophy.
To hold the power of an archfey and not utilize it, if possible. I do not think a creature of his cunning would allow that to happen. If it is a
And
weapon, it can be used as one.
I don't suppose he's easily charmed.
Likely not. Convinced, perhaps, but by magical means, no. It is the nature of the Fae to avoid such things. Although if one meets the right person, a heart can be swayed, even if it's mortal.
I guess we should have brought Ran after all.
I do not know what this brand is, but it sounds handsome.
The purest of hearts.
Poor Bert.
I must admit I have a pretty good skill of finding what it is most things desire and promising it to them and under-delivering. But this is a lot of unknowns, an uncomfortable amount of unknowns.
Is he the type that just attacks anybody that approaches? Or if he doesn't know our intentions, are we able to have a conversation with him?
He's quite a cruel creature, though his intentions lie in his own entertainment. He does not seem the type, unless the tales say he is not the type to lash out randomly. If he makes a game of it, certainly.
Sounds like Madman Peak. A little bit.
Unfortunately, we don't have anything to wager. I could see perhaps challenging him into a game, though that would be tricky in itself.
If you seek ample price, you must... Dealer looks at you, Persephone, and looks at the rest of the group, and sort of just looks away. You must be willing to sacrifice the greatest of treasures.
And it's certainly something he would love to get his hands on.
What
Something
might
that someone
that be?
else wants to get their hands on. As I look over at Persephone. Something that you want to protect above all else.
Oh, you are a tricky one indeed, aren't you? Oh, that is a very fine prize. As Samantha just seems to be enraptured with the almost Disney villain-esque offer of that.
No. I was like,
Something is only worth as much as someone believes it's worth. Oh, that is tempting.
I grabbed Samantha's sleeve. We're not selling Rel off to another fake creature.
Oh, we don't have to sell it. We simply have to offer it. We don't intend to lose, but he has so much value because Titania wants him.
And what if we do lose?
Oh, well, then we're fucked. But the idea of it is audacious. I do love that about you, Tamakon, I really do.
It would literally be as if he stole her heart again.
I hate that the plan makes sense. I don't like the idea of Rail being. Well, it does. If he got so much glee out of taking her heart, then he would be overjoyed to do it once again. But I don't know how I feel about using Rail as a bargaining chip. I mean, that's the whole reason I'm here.
Well,
But
what if we tricked him?
Sure.
Right,
We could
right.
name a hog or perhaps a bird, Rel.
Hmm.
We could say we would give him the heart of Rel. Just not your brother, Rel.
That's an idea. That's a very fey idea.
Imagine a Fey Lord outdone by a childhood fairy tale trick. And that would be a story to fucking tell, wouldn't it?
Many childhood stories are fey tales.
I don't hate it. It's the best idea we've had so far. 10 points to you to mark on.
How long is the journey to the crow's nest?
The path set before that the forests often change is 3 days. It leads just north of the Unseelie Vale. The crow does not reside in a layer of Seelie or Unseelie. He resides beyond them, in his own nestled cranny.
So we hope
3
to
days.
get an audience with another Fey Lord, make an offer he can't refuse, and hope to best him at perhaps most likely a game of his choosing, since we're the one bringing the offer.
Now I gotta figure out what I would name Rail. That's weird. Everything I love and have is already named.
Then you must lay claim to something new, Persephone.
Maybe. Maybe we'll find something on the way.
If you have no other need of me, I'm going to go speak with the Lord. It has been some time since I've seen him. I wish to account for my brother's action.
Oh,
Pardon me.
Lucerne.
As you'll see, Nimini sort of just bow before you guys and sort of look at everyone, sort of stop at you, Persephone. I would enjoy some time to speak with you, if ever the moment resides. Excuse me. I'll be gone. As he'll just sort of turn and sort of hastily fly up the mantle, up beyond the canopy above you, and then just vanish.
Thank
So
you
kinda
for
give-
the clearing of my mind. Endeavor so it is not needed again.
So just kind of give Luna a little bit of a side eye, kind of just waiting for her to say something.
Am I that particular Clodor?
When it comes to Persephone, yes.
Seems like I need to start changing my game. So Persephone,
Hi!
have any ideas about what you're gonna do about that?
Talk to him. Well,
You see,
I
Persephone,
guess.
when he came to me, he asked about you.
What did he say? What did he want to know?
He wanted to know if you had changed. Sorry, I did not have more of a story to tell him. With a short knowing of one another. But he was certainly interested in the answer.
Well, then maybe that's something I can give him. If it helps him find closure. I I just hope he doesn't see this opportunity as a way that we might get back together, because that didn't work out entirely well the last time.
You don't want to get back together with him.
I don't know who he is anymore. And I'm not who I was when we had first fallen in love. I don't want to be foolish to chase a moment that passed.
Strange. In less than 5 minutes, you've contradicted yourself. Didn't
What?
you say that you weren't not going to try?
Try to help Queen Titania get her heart back. To help her
Yeah.
heal.
It seemed like you said it about most things, not just this.
Of course.
Come on, Burst, give him a chance. Come on, come on.
He's a good guy. He's a
He's
little
good,
cool.
good.
He's got horns and white hair.
I don't understand how I'm contradicting myself. Heartbreak is a part of life. It's part of what we go through. What's important is how we grow from it, if we do at all. Maybe Nimini's hasn't. Maybe he
Your
hasn't had.
heartbreak wasn't of your own circumstances, of your own making. The influence of something far beyond your control.
Well, that depends on how you want to look at it. We were faced with two choices. I either was to go back with him, live in the Feywilds, or he were to come with me and join me on my travels in the Prime. And I wasn't ready to be a noble in another place after I just left home to explore my world. So I stood firm. And I told him that if he wanted to join me, then he should at least tell his mother goodbye first. He went off to do that, and his mother refused to let him go.
But it seems that he is heartbroken because he
Yes.
wanted to return.
I know. And I'm happy that he did want to be with me, but it doesn't change what has happened. He couldn't come back with me. I had to move on. I had to finish traveling through Illyria on my own and make it to Mobia. I had to figure out what I was going to do afterwards. For a couple of months, I thought I was going to be traveling with him. And suddenly I wasn't. I had to adjust. And I didn't like wallowing in my heartache and all of the sadness. It doesn't mean that I discarded him, but I had other friends. I met Clyde and I met the then Valiant Seven. I had friends to help me realize there was more to me than just somebody I wanted to give my heart to. And actually, it was a big part of me realizing giving your heart to people is not just about romantic love. We do that when we think about the family that we care for. We do that every time that we fight together and we risk our lives for each other.
Well, let's just hope that there's not a way for Queen Titania to platonically take Hirail's heart.
Well,
I think what Persephone is saying is that he's free and he's all yours, Samantha.
Are you interested in Nimini's?
Are you
no,
interested in Nimini's?
not in the slightest, but it is interesting. To me, it sounded like a lot of words to say that you don't want him anymore, but that is my way of looking at things. No matter. Though, well, I'm sure you'll hear him out. You are soft-hearted that way.
Well, yeah, it's the least I can do. Okay, so We're going to name something Rail. We're going to tell this crow guy that we're going to give him Rail in exchange for Maelstroma's heart. And hopefully it works out.
Hopefully. And
If not, we kill him.
the crow,
I forgot to ask, if we kill him, does that still count as being given the heart, or does that break the Fey rules? Or does it not matter because he'd have to be reborn anyways?
I feel like it would still be his possession, and he would most likely reincarnate in some form or fashion, if I were to extrapolate based on what we've learned so far.
A giant tree branch just pats you on the back, Samantha.
You're doing a good job. Did I get a gold star? Is there like a gold leaf on me now? You did it.
Like 1,000 little legs crawling over your body. It's a gold
leaf?
star, run!
Fuck. Oh. Luna,
What's up?
could I speak to you for a moment?
Sure. Look to the rest of the group. Go away.
Find a room.
This
We're
is
in a
our
room.
only room.
Oh,
They can just
there are
build a new
stairs.
room.
There are literally, if you go upstairs, there are more and more. There's more rooms than there are you guys. All sorts of different shapes and sizes.
Okay, but I like this room. It fits my aesthetic. It's purple.
Eh.
Also has sideways stools.
You blue
Still
now?
low.
What the oh, that's just like the dot on my token overlapping your face. It's horrifying. Mm. So I'm not super certain that this brilliant idea is going to go according to plan. Nothing ever really does. And I'm not super certain that we can simply fight our way out of the problem either. But I don't want to be dour to Persephone. I like that she has a degree of hope about finding a solution to this. I find myself wanting it to work out for her, I suppose. A strange sort of feeling I can't really quite put words to.
Do you care about her and her feelings and her hopes and dreams?
Ew, no.
Aw.
Ew.
That seems like a lot.
I mean, it's a very accurate way to describe how you're feeling.
I just don't want her to break, I suppose. That's it.
Still sounds like what I just said.
No, it's different. The other thing is Samantha just seems to sort of like look up at you, and her snakes seem to sort of stop moving and sort of chill, sort of freezing in place, some of them turning to look at you as well. What prompted that question of yours?
I was mostly attempting to get her to tell us what would happen if she found out Rail didn't love her without insinuating that Rail didn't love her and causing problems mostly.
Ah, see, I thought this was what you were doing, but I wasn't certain. It was weird because she wasn't she's a Fey Lord, but okay.
I don't particularly know what the difference is. Unless
Yeah,
divine beings are like above Fey Lords.
in many ways. Good.
Like what ways, Samantha?
Well, literally, if you look at the cosmology wheel, the upper planes are above the plane of existence that the Feywild resides on. She pulls out her diagram map and starts pointing to the different regions. Planar Geography 101.
You do have the map.
I do have the map. I literally have it. Where is it? Come here, you. I'll display it. No other reason. There it is.
This reason might be
Strange
better.
map. Yeah. Look at that. See? Where is it?
Anyway, this defines our relationship. This is why.
This is what our
Yeah.
love looks like.
See, the upper planes are up here.
Go up.
Various celestial beings are surrounding him. The Beastlands, that is where, bloody hell, what is his name? A host of different gods, honestly. But yeah, here's the Feywild. See, that's where she is, and that's where you usually are. Anyway, enough about that.
Here's your place
Well,
in the
no,
universe.
I have questions about this. Which one are you supposedly from? I mean, that creature with an eye, one eye, said you were divine, right?
He was describing my appearance.
All right.
Oh, you could have saved that so good. Which realm are you from? What were you talking about? When you fell from heaven? Because you're so beautiful, you my angel.
Well, I'm gonna go to sleep since I know you don't sleep. If you want to just hang out in the room, I guess.
Can I join you?
Sure. I mean, are you just gonna watch me sleep? That sounds kind of boring.
No, I was thinking about taking you to the upper planes.
Don't worry, I'm gonna do stuff.
Well, I'd prefer to be awake if you were to do that.
Exactly. You're not just going to drop dead into the bed, I assume.
Are bored and ignored.
All right. As they settle off in their night, is there anything else you guys want to do? As it seems like the day, you have basically the day to sort of relax, enjoy yourselves from your travel, but otherwise, the next day would start to come. As we'll
Yeah,
slip off.
That's not the only thing.
I just hang out with Swift Hollow in Fay Place.
I would see if there'd be any way to bottle up that fly magic.
It's you would if you were to converse with one of the pixies, they would let you know you can have a bottle of it. Basically, just their pixie dust. You sprinkle over yourself, grants you flight. It's indefinite here. The air is basically suffused with the magic within this place, but once you leave it, that dust, once it's applied, only has about 10 minutes use. So it's basically like a one single bottle of pixie dust. Although they are a little bit hesitant about sharing it, there are certainly warnings about mortals who indulge in pixie dust quite often, to the point where pixies often get captured and bottled. And then that's how usually they make the ability to fly. It's kind of addicting to have that tingling, joyful feeling carry you through the air. So they give you a bottle, but they warn, like, be careful with it.
I I will promise them that if we don't utilize it, I will return it.
Oh, there you go. Good shit.
Going to think
So
back on
touching.
some lessons from long ago of some tips and tricks given to me by my teacher about dealing with some more powerful forces in the Feywilds, and teacher told me the easiest way to clear my mind, make it so nothing intrudes upon it, is to gorge yourself until you can't think of anything. So I'm gonna just fucking order as much food as I can and just gorge myself.
Oh, Tamar Khan, you ask for food in this land, this natural Sealy plain. If you ask for fruit, it shall grow on the vine for you in sizes even larger than yourself. Something not since experience since your youth in the Feywild, as there is just food abound.
Myself into a stupor.
Just watching this monkey, you can hear like even some comments from passing sprites like, "Is he okay? Should we do something? Maybe we should call the queen." As this ape is just shoveling handfuls of fruit into his mouth.
It looks like it's fun at first. It very quickly realizes that he's just groaning, putting shit in his mouth. Ugh.
Swift Hollow just seems to be deep in thought for a lot of the night.
What
If
you
a Fey
thinking
Queen
about?
offered you a wish, what would you wish for?
Hmm. Okay, this is really, really silly. But I think I would ask her about giving me real wings. To be perfectly honest, Swift Hollow, there's really not a lot more that I want.
I mean, rail to be free. Fuck!
We'll give her the heart, and I don't have to worry about Rail anymore. Illyria will have the blessing, so my family won't be shamed. And I have the Valiant Vanguard, and Father looks like he's seen a whole new side of me. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I would want. What are you
Asking
thinking?
for something material seems foolish.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, she's kind of like a goddess in this plane, so I don't know. Talk to me. What are some things that you'd want?
I don't know. That's the problem, Persephone.
Do you not know what you're missing?
Well, the question is, do I want it back?
Back.
If I'm missing something.
Are you?
Am I?
You're speaking
She
very
just
Fey.
looks at you. Oh, that wacky Fey magic. Joking.
But if I were not gonna not have what it is back, do I want it though?
I want to
It's
say I
not
like
that I don't not know.
I like to imagine
What's up?
Swift Hollow says all this just with a completely straight face, like, "Hey, man."
Yes.
Oh yeah. Her face is blank.
Oh wow.
I love it.
Like
Oh,
it
wow,
was in
that
thought and
wacky Fey
contemplation, but
magic.
now when the conversation started, it's just blank. It was very poignant when she said, "I don't know."
Well, I don't want to tell you if you're missing anything. I still don't know a lot about you, but just based on what I know. I mean, you said you've only been trained to kill. Maybe having the ability to solve your problems without using the pointy end would be a good idea. I don't know what that means for you. I don't know how long you've been doing this, but I'd imagine going on this path meant that there were some things that you didn't need to encounter. I don't know if you would call them opportunity costs or sacrifices. I don't know. The life that you've led is very, very different than anyone else that I've really met, so I can't speak to it, but I can give it some more thought for you.
Certainly, speak your mind.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to see and know that you're happy. That's what I want for all of my friends. I wish it for Koldor. I see it for Tamar Khan, but even he has an end goal. I really wish it for Samantha and Luna, and I think in some small ways they found it within each other. I don't know what else would make you happy. I know you work for Lady Blackburn. I don't know if you work for other parties. You seem to keep everything separated. I don't know. Would it be independence? Snipping the strings that pull you to and fro? Because I did that and it's been amazing. I got
I
to
don't
figure out
mind
who
the strings.
I was. Oh, okay. Well, then if you don't mind the strings, then maybe it's not that.
More strings?
They're not strings like puppet, but it's more like a rope of tug of war. They take and receive, but so do I.
And you like it that way?
Satisfied.
Happy?
Satisfied.
Those aren't the same. I guess maybe that would be one thing to ask, to see if she can put you on that path. She can't make Kuldor the best warrior in Tyrion, but she said that she can put him on the path towards that goal. Maybe she could do the same for you.
Well, there's no point in asking for the cart when we don't even have a horse. We still have the matter of getting this heart. One way or another.
One way or another. We've done crazier things. Have we? Yeah, I feel like we have.
It feels like every challenge has been our toughest challenge yet. And yet we always persevere.
That is true.
No as for where. Some of us.
Yeah.
Indeed. As the day would pass, the group would find themselves rested, and the new morning would come with a preparation, a plan, even if one ill fit, even if one unfinished, even if one perhaps just ever so deviously perfect in hand. The valiant vanguard would have their time to say their goodbyes and begin their trek. It would start in the morning. When Persephone, you would wake, and you just feel this sudden throb in your hand as you look down, and the entirety of your plant arm seems to just be alit with magic. And then the moment you come conscious, the moment you're aware of it, sort of testing out your fingers, the magic just starts to pull away and fade as if built, and then it becomes normal. But for that moment, you do feel just lingering here in this Fey, in the Seelie. Something is amassing in that hand of yours. A familiar pulse in your palm, almost in recognition of that power received so long ago. That seed of true Fey magic. As that is where we will end tonight's session with the Valiant Vanguard in the heart of the Feywild, having beseeched the Queen and now find themselves with a task at hand, a direction to move. and what seems to be an impossible challenge.
Yeah, well, we've been told that every time we do something.
You can't go rescue the puppy from the well. It's impossible.
You can't kill the dragon. It's impossible.
No, dragons
can't
have been
beat
killed
the
before.
arena.
That's the thing. That's the difference.
Yeah, but no one said. Oh, I guess that's fair. There's a running history for becoming a dragon slayer.
Yeah, that's a thing.
But also, they didn't believe in us. They said it was impossible.
I mean, the incantation, like some of the strongest NPCs we've met, believed in us enough to give us a spear to help us do it. Which, I mean, you're not gonna just hand somebody a whole,
Fuck those guys in particular. Also, thank you for making these items for me.
I love those guys. Yeah, those guys those guys are great. Oh my goodness gracious. This is gonna be crazy. I hope this is what you were planning on. Oh fuck. Because it definitely seems to be what it is we're sliding quite rapidly in the direction of. So
I'm excited.
I threw up the one warning sign that I have of like, hey, just in case, you have any other plans? Nope. All right, guess we're going all in on this. Fuck yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah, man.
so-
Let's go kill a fae.
I mean, this is just our start. We might come up with a different plan, like, as we learn more
No.
on our travels.
No, we won't. We will not. That is not
What?
something that'll happen. We will be throwing ourselves into the feather-covered abyss, and whatever comes of it may happen. This is D&D. That's how this goes. All right, I want to thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight, and I certainly hope that you enjoyed it. I know I did. It's beautiful, wonderful, well played by everyone. Good session, and we always have some more D&D coming on Lionhead Gaming. This Sunday, we return to Heroes of Thylea with our Oracles Chosen just at the opening of the Path of the Dead through the Mithril Mountains, beginning their ascent and their climb through all the obstacles and whatever mysteries and questions may be arisen along this journey just to get to the necropolis at the summit of Mount Telemach and to face the challenge of Xander within, something that in that realm has not been bested in over 500 years. Never, ever been accomplished. Will they manage to do it? Hopefully, otherwise the world's fucked. So tune in this Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern, to find out how the Oracle's Chosen fare on the first true leg of their journey. And then we should hopefully be circling right back around for some more Song of Rapture next Thursday, right here at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Yes, good, yes, indeed.
Yes, sir.
So be sure to tune in for that and see how this whole Dark-Eyed Faith thing goes. Oh boy, it's gonna be swell. That's all I've got for you. We're gonna go ahead and see who else is out there streaming on this wonderful Thursday. Go share the love with them. And as always, I want to thank you all so much for watching. And may your dice roll 20s. And you always make your saves.
Lady, y'all.
Toodles.
Bye.
mention of Sylvanas, but then you started going into like what this entity said to you, and then they get this look of confusion, like, wait, what?
Thank you, Lionhead Gaming.
Oh,
for
hey,
the-
Lionhead, thank you.
Oh, hello. Oh my goodness.
Thank you for sending us your community. Hi, everybody.
Oh, so good.
So yes, the you're even before you might decide to like insight check or anything, you'd get this vibe that you're like